This is the first and horribly unrehearsed edition of, I guess we're still calling it FCS 360 because nobody came up with a name. You can
like we have no script, no pre-planned bits. We're just going to go at this raw and uncensored.
Okay, I did.
Don't tell me you wrote a script.
No, does making a top 25 count as a script? Planning.
No, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So before we launch into that though, I do want to quick say shout out Plaque for being our national champion. He said he was excited about the podcast. Now he's not here. What a dickhead. But that's how life goes.
He can listen to it after.
Shout out Sleeve for being the chillest man in this server and a national championship runner up.
Shout out to him for also being the only person to ever be my lover.
Shout out Sarah for actually winning the national championship too.
Please don't say that name, please. I'm still please.
Still mourning from the one time you had female interest in your life. Anyway,
Prom Story disagrees.
Woo! He's got a point. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked already, but we're here to have fun too. Carousel. And any big moves anybody wants to announce? I mean, they've all kind of already been announced anyway. But
I'm looking for a North Dakota.
I'm still looking for an Austin P and a.
But the MVC is
another team.
I mean, let's go ahead and review the carousel because there's plenty of interesting moves that happen in the carousel, right? A lot of retirements.
I should have pulled up the carousel sheet to do that. Yeah, somebody want to actually cover the retirements because there's some big news.
Before we go over that, I think we should go over retirements and then let's go over just each of our conference and then talk about the other conferences too.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
So, we had some big retirements this season. Oh, we lost a lot of.
We lost a lot of people.
Well, I mean, some of the original members, really.
We lost the golden generation of FCS.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely accurate. That we really did lose kind of a lot of people. I mean, I've only been here for a year, so easy for me to say, but a lot of people that were sort of just established names. You thought FCS, that's who you thought of.
Most notably, I think probably the two most notable names we lost were just a few of the most like Tenney, Danny, Chase, Einstein. Lost all.
Yeah, that's four huge ones right there. Shout out to Danny for being a Montana State student.
Yeah, the only notable OG I can think of that didn't leave this season was Brady, who is still Mississippi Valley State. So at least one person stayed.
Brady, not active in the Discord, but active in the game. He's Mississippi Valley State.
He's active in all of our hearts.
Yes, exactly. I'm still bitter about him beating me in overtime last year, but that's fine. 55-54. Didn't get game of the year because y'all are throwing polls. But it's okay. Who else left? We had a few other people leave.
And then Camel retired.
Yeah, Camel retired.
Camel retired.
The vice president doesn't even know.
Hey, I wasn't vice president when it happened, okay?
Naki said he was going to retire after you lost the Spoon Bowl.
Yes, Naki was doing their best Brett Favre imitation. I'm retiring. Just kidding. No, I'm not. There'll probably be a few more of those in the future.
And
Fruity
Sleeves on a sabbatical.
Yes, Fruity retired. Sleeves on a sabbatical.
And I think this is a good time to say that this is actually going to be the last thing I ever do in FCS. I'm retiring immediately after this podcast. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of the carousel moves.
Hold up. That's not true because you're playing week 1, so we can have the Can I Copy Your Homework Bowl.
Let's move on to the rest of the carousel. Because there's a lot of movement in between. A lot of people taking over the newly vacant teams.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff happening. Should we talk about the Missouri Valley first? Because let's be honest, it was kind of the best conference last year.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
That's your area.
So, in the carousel, we didn't just pick up new coaches. We picked up new whole teams. So we took one new pickup to the Missouri Valley Conference is a new team to FCS. That's St. Thomas. St. Thomas is IRL going to the FCS from Division III ball, if I'm correct. Right?
Yes.
They're making the jump
St.
from
Thomas
Division
jumped up many
from
places.
Division III to Division One AA. And then we added Missouri State from the Dick.
Finally giving the Missouri Valley an actual Missouri team.
Yes,
Hey.
the Missouri Valley actually has a team in Missouri. And the Dick loses that little star, that little outlier that's in the logo that drove me crazy. So I'm not pronouncing it the DIC because Dick
It
is
is
funnier
the
to say.
DIC. I am the dictator. I also pronounce it Dick on occasion for my own convenience. It's the DIC, and we're going to be a 4-bid league this year. But keep going.
But yeah, we had some great pickups. We had some returners to the MVC. Jakester, I'm very excited that Jakester's back in the MVC, replacing a storied UNI. And then we have old Billy, the old Lafayette coach, an Aussie, is joining as North Dakota State. And the one I'm very excited about, Shake is back, coming joining Indiana State. And then we've got Mad Jack coming to join the new aforementioned Missouri State. Yeah, and I think we've got and we had the old LIU coach coming to coach St. Thomas. So I'm very excited about our 16-team conference. We have one opening left, and we have in the Norco. I have a coach for Norco, but it is to be named later.
All right. Jocks is making fun of Duke for mentioning tater tots or something. But anyway, the DIC, and yes, I'm calling it the DIC, and yes, you can deal with it, is we got a whole lot of things going on. We lost 2 schools. We got rid of Missouri State, sent them off to the Missouri Valley, pretty crap program, so we just kind of dumped them. And we sent Southeastern Louisiana University because, they put out the whole thing, you're not supposed to just call them Southeastern Louisiana anymore. But yeah, we sent good old Sela off to the Southland, and so now we're at 14 teams instead of 16, making everybody else deal with the bloat problems. Thank God. And so what we're gonna have going on in the DIC is we're gonna have Z-Man from Western Illinois. His old DC is gonna take over Jackson State. I don't think he'll quite. Those are big shoes to fill, but hopefully he'll be all right. And let's see what else we got here. We have Flamosaurus moving from the moved Missouri State to Central Arkansas, who Vinny very rudely left. That's really sad. But we still wish Vinny all the best over at Arkansas. Just he's at an inferior subdivision, but it happens. Cosby moving from Gardner Webb to Eastern Kentucky, pretty much entirely because of a gift. But hey, you take what you can get. And Brian Taylor. I honestly don't know who that is, but he's somebody, and he's going to be coaching Morehead State. Still got a couple openings to fill. And so we'll have I'm getting told that Brian Taylor's an MLR guy. There's our beautiful EKU gift. Thank you, Jocks. And yeah, so we still have one or two openings to fill. Austin P and I think Murray State, now that Jakester left for the Missouri Valley. But I'm sure we'll get them filled. And like I said, it's going to be a 4-bid league this year. So that's all I'm saying about that. Moofish, you want to cover the Southland?
I mean, I don't really want to, but I guess I will. This is my obligation. So the Southland is now a 16-team conference. We picked up Southeastern Louisiana. We put them out the pasture, though. And then we also picked up a completely new expansion team, University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley, which will be coached by OSU kid who was Old Southern Utah. Southeastern Louisiana is Boomer Sooner from the FBS, a legendary personality.
Boomer.
Yeah,
Love Boomer.
and then besides those two, we had a lot of people just kind of stay in the conference for the most part. Other notable additions, we have Lamar is now Hunky, who is a very good coach and used to be Prairie View A&M back in season 4. And then we also have Snasty becoming Houston Baptist, who was a former FBS.
Moofish disappeared here, but yes.
There's nothing else to say. We had
yeah.
4 people added.
I personally say Rio Grande, but y'all can do whatever you want.
No. In Texas, we all say Rio Grande. Well, it depends on It depends on ethnicity mostly. Although it also depends on proximity to the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah.
Like most everyone outside of the Rio Grande Valley says Rio Grande, but then most of the Hispanic population of Rio Grande Valley probably say Rio Grande because native tongue and all that.
Quick history check here. Do we remember what Rio Grande Valley? That was a merger of 2 schools, right?
Yeah, it was a merger of University of Texas Pan American and University of Texas Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, that's the one I couldn't remember. I knew about Pan American, but I didn't know about the other one. Anyway, other things that are happening in the carousel that we want to cover? There's not a whole lot happening. The America East has been left for dead.
Yeah, the America East has literally 4 coaches, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it has 5 actually. So that's good. Oh yeah, hi Duke. Duke is our new president.
I was really hoping we'd bypass that. I thought it was really funny.
we were kind of talking about you before the podcast started. Please don't.
I have a new carousel move to announce. Duke is now the coach at North Dakota. He's left the Southland after not being mentioned on the FCS 360 podcast, and is now the coach of North Dakota.
All right. I feel like Duke would not last a week in Grand Forks, but that could just be me.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, that pretty much covers the carousel. There's been a few other moves, but not the big stuff. We have an MVC and a Southland voice here, so I mean I think that's kind of what probably people care most about. Big. And anybody know much? The Ivy League had some moves. The Ivy League is the Ivy League, though. Like,
Yeah,
they do what they do. They're always pretty good. They're always slightly overrated, and that's life. And they're all nerds.
the CAA added Matt.
CAA has its own podcast. They can cover their own carousel if they feel like it.
Yeah.
We just desperately trying to.
We just don't really cover the conference of mediocrity. What can I say?
Yeah. And they added Matt 17. That's subtraction by addition.
That's true. We should note that Matt did join the CAA. So CAA got 1 team worse this year.
All of a sudden, this became the most aggressive podcast we've ever had, officially sanctioned by the league.
The carousel is here.
All right.
Okay, so since Jocks actually inserted the Ivy thing here, we'll read it out.
Oh, Barney!
We did mention that Einstein retired, so we did actually talk about the Ivy a little bit. But Barney is filling his shoes at Princeton. I'm 6-6. And J. Sell retired from Yale, so they got old Yale to fill his shoes. I believe
Alex.
Yale.
Yeah.
Cal
Those are 2 good coaches.
My Texas buddy.
But I could be wrong about that. So, yeah, that's the carousel. There's some other conferences. There'll be 1 and 2 bid leagues again. Yeehaw. It happens. Yeah, sorry to New Hampshire, whose conference just got absolutely thrown under the bus.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you guys literally have like 4
When
teams.
your commissioner adds some teams, we'll consider you again. Crap, he's a co-commissioner now. I'm sorry.
Hold on, can I pin that?
This is completely derailed. All right. And yeah, this posting copy pastas. Mute Canner. All right. So this has been a high quality podcast. All right. I think it's time we move on.
Calm your fucking butt, Scott.
Absolutely nothing good has come of this.
That's
so
getting server muted.
let's go into the top 25.
Yeah, let's present the top 25.
So do we want to do this one by one, all going through our top 25 and then discuss, or do we kind of all want to give out a number 1, all give out a number 2, all give out a number 3 kind of thing?
I think consensus could be good. Kind of the 3 of us kind of just like, all together. It's like, oh yes, we think this team will be this.
Yeah, let's go down.
Because let's be honest, we're already way behind schedule. Going through 3 separate top 25s will...
Yeah, let's just kind
it's
of
going to take a lot of time. Just a consensus.
In our list is kind of... our lists are kind of similar, too.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. We all agree Eastern Washington's on the top, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire
number 1. Yeah, I've got New Hampshire at number 2 as well.
Yeah, because the thing is about New Hampshire is that while they had a bit of a disappointing playoff run, they had a very deep one the year prior, and they were also a very high seed. So I expect them to... we all expected they'll do, they'll be an elite team once again. Just a matter of being able to make another run at the playoffs for this season.
Going to be a weird situation for them with their conference being a little empty, but like they're so
That's
good.
the thing, though, is that all those sub coaches bode very bad news for UNH.
All right, the 3, 4, 5 spots. What do we think? I personally like Penn, North Dakota State, and Richmond, but I'll put that in your guys' court.
I think Penn absolutely needs to round out the top 3.
Yep.
Pennsylvania is coming off of 2 consecutive Final Four appearances, including including being a national runner-up in season 4. Penn has been consistently elite in the postseason, because in the regular season, typically they're in the early teens, but they always show up during playoff time, which is very important for preseason rankings, in my opinion.
Yep, I 100% agree with that.
Moofish is gonna hate me. I have Incarnate Word at 3.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
I have faith in Incarnate Word.
To be completely honest, I was in my own top 5 as well.
Yeah,
I don't think I can get away with not ranking myself that high.
I have Incarnate Word at 3.
I put Incarnate Word number 6.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I have Penn at 4, obviously, and then Richmond at 5.
I went North Dakota State at 4. I think Billy can probably take over there and be almost as good as he was at Lafayette.
The biggest issue with him, though, is that while I don't doubt his abilities as a coach, going from the MAC, where he was like a borderline playoff team, into the Missouri Valley Conference, which is easily the number 1 conference of last season, that's going to be very difficult to adjust.
Yeah. At the same time, I do want to kind of acknowledge the team history there that North Dakota was really good last year, so I don't want to just tank him either.
That's completely fair.
And then I've got Richmond number 5. I mean, Zand is 4th in coach Elo, and I think that says it all.
Yeah, Zand is consistently one of the best coaches of all time. Let's see if he manages to complete another season.
Yeah.
When you think the best coaches of all time, I think Zand doesn't immediately come to your mind, but I think Zand is probably the most consistent coach FCS has ever seen. He is consistently
under the radar, but then all of a sudden he pops up and he's in a playoff quarterfinal again.
That's the thing, right? Is that he's never at the forefront of the regular season necessarily, but he is always there. He's always ready to make a deep run, and he's always ready to really blow someone out.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Zand and probably Jocks are probably the two most consistently good coaches. I
Yeah.
feel like.
And then I hate to be the egomaniac here, but we didn't discuss UIW as well, since two of us had them in the top 5.
That
Yeah.
is
So let's talk about Incarnate Word. Unfortunately,
Now,
okay. So when they're playing outside the conference, they're the worst team in America. Um, just inarguably makes Central Connecticut look good. And then they go into conference and just run everybody's crap. So I mean,
yeah, that's the thing about UIW is that in the 3 current seasons the UIW coach, they went 9-4, 10-4, and then 11-6 this season. Two consecutive conference titles, and then this, even though playoff success consistently eluded them, this year they finally made the breakthrough. They finally made it an incredibly deep run, and they almost beat the national champion. They only lost by a touchdown.
you can stop talking about yourself in the third person.
Well, you know what? The UIW coach has no comment on that.
yeah, the UIW coach is a man who wears many hats, and he doesn't like to overlay those hats onto each other. So
I
The
see.
UIW coach is
fair
a
enough.
man of many socks on the cocks.
That
Yeah,
too.
I think Incarnate Word had an uncharacteristic regular season, but I think they really returned to form in the playoffs, which
Yeah,
kind of is the first time in the past couple of seasons that Incarnate Word has performed very successfully in the playoffs.
I honestly see Incarnate Word going 8-4 and winning 8 conference games. Like not even completely as a joke. I actually think that could happen.
I mean, it almost happened last season.
Yeah,
We were
exactly.
1 game away from that. So yeah, that's a decent call. Hey, let's move on from the
Yeah.
awful, disgusting Incarnate Word team. Now, what teams did y'all have outside of the top 5?
So other than putting Incarnate Word 6, obviously because I had North Dakota State up a little higher. I went Villanova 7, Davidson 8, Western Illinois 9, and Drake 10.
And then
Okay. Yep. Oh,
no,
you
you
go
can go.
ahead.
No, Cooper, you
Yeah,
go.
and then rounding out my top 10, I had Western Illinois at 6, Villanova 7, Davidson at 8, Drake at 9, and Columbia at 10.
Yeah, so there's a lot of consensus here. We're going to spend a bit less time on the teams as we go further on the top 25. Western Illinois is going to be a team to watch for me because remember, Western Illinois started off 5-0 when Z-Man was just a solo, and then DC joined. And while WIU remained a very elite team, they did kind of step back just a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how Z-Man does, as the only person as at WIU.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Z-Man, but I think as a solo coach you were like 5-1 or 5-2. Yeah, I think it was like 5-1 or 5-2. So he's definitely a capable coach by himself.
Yeah, I went a little lower on Z-Man just because I hear he won fake college basketball as well, so I don't need his head getting too swollen. But yeah, I mean it cemented his place in the top 10, I think, without too many questions. So.
Yeah, Villanova is another interesting team because Villanova was good but not great in Edge's first season. But then last season he really came into his own after beginning the season 0-3, I want to say. He then went on
Yeah.
a 10-game winning streak to win the conference championship. So it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain that momentum into next season or if he's going to regress back into his first season form.
Yeah, I do want to kind of mention too that like Villanova started 0-3 and Richmond started 1-3, and we were all having a good laugh about how bad the CAA was, but those two both picked it up. And I mean, I think Villanova's going to be great this year. I think Edge is a solid coach. I mean, and I don't really think there's a whole lot of other good teams in the CAA. I'm kind of just potting DSU Matt and other Matt here, but like, sorry, Edge is better than you.
I mean, the only other like only other competitor in the CAA as we know it as of now, is Richmond, who is the aforementioned Zand. So I totally see Villanova going 9-3 in the regular season again.
Yep.
I don't think the CAA is quite back to season 4 form.
I actually disagree, and we'll talk about that later. But there is another CAA team I have ranked in the top 25.
Ooh.
So once we get farther down the list, I'll explain my reasoning on that.
Speaking of rather disappointing Eastern Coast teams, Davidson, out of the CFC. So Davidson had an incredible regular season last year, going 11-2, and then bowed out of the playoffs relatively early for their seed. And so the CFC, I also don't think has improved either, which I think means that Davidson will likely be able to make another massive regular season run and be perennial top 10 once again.
Yeah, there's the one other big coach in the CFC left, so that definitely cuts back on the competition a little bit. Josh, your dog could not win the CFC. You couldn't even win the CFC because they beat you.
I think the biggest competitor in the CFC for Davidson would likely be Ryan out of Elon, who won the NIT championship both the season before last, and he had an uncharacteristic season last year, but with an even weaker CFC on paper, I think he should be able to improve even more and maybe give Davidson some competition, but don't count on it.
Yeah, I think if there's a contender in the CFC, it's absolutely Elon. Obviously, last season was a little bit of a hiccup, like you say, but I mean, it's Ryan. He'll recover. He knows what he's doing.
Elon's a good team. Ryan's a good coach. I think they can be a competitor.
I just want to put this out there right now. Presbyterian is going 0-12. So,
and then the other team at the bottom
after predicting they could go second in the CFC South. So
I'm just gonna let that one sit, and we're gonna talk about Columbia and give no attention to the chat. So Columbia was the number 2. I think were they the 1 seed in the Ivy League championship, or were they the 2 seed? Either way, they went to the Ivy League championship after a very strong regular season where they had a pretty stacked schedule, which is typical for the Ivy because a very small amount of teams typically ends up reflecting very well for them. Columbia should be competitive once again. I mean, Einstein left, J-Cell left, so the Ivy League is weaker on paper, which is the theme for a lot of conferences. And even though Columbia kind of got absolutely rocked out of the playoffs last season, they should be really good again.
Yeah, I think Columbia will be good. I do think that Einstein leaving is probably the reason they make it back to the Ivy League championship. Otherwise, I think I'm putting Princeton in front of them here. And I'm still, even though last year didn't necessarily carry out this way, I'm still putting Penn in front of them too.
Yeah, Daryl's a really good coach. The Ivy's always been super consistent. They've always sent multiple teams to the playoffs.
Yep.
So it's usually Penn and Princeton, but it was Penn and Columbia last year. But I am sure the Ivy is going to send multiple teams to the playoffs. I will bet money on that.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to come out and say it right now. 3 Ivy bids in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Ivy teams. I'll talk about a couple later in the list.
I also think they've got a lot of teams too that aren't maybe, I mean, Penn excluded for sure, but they're not like, oh my gosh, they're so good. But they have a lot of teams that'll kind of be just off it, out in that sort of like 18 to 30 range.
I mean, if they can perform well in out of conference play, I don't see how they couldn't send half or even more of their conference.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Getting to have an 8-team conference is kind of cheating, but that's fine.
It
Uh,
it's just it's
so
uh
the system
it's
is
different
rigged.
because it's I mean they play each other.
Oh yeah.
They play like one team plays another team twice, which is hard. That's
Yeah,
hard for
yeah. It's
for an
rough.
8 team.
So let's move down the top 25 to the
Yeah.
11-15 spots. Who do you guys
Mhm.
have in the very early double digits?
Take it, Cooper.
I'll go first. I've got 11th North Dakota State, 12th Jackson State, 13th Kennesaw State, 14th Brown, and 15th Samford. I think a couple of these teams here, like North Dakota State and Jackson State, had coaching changes, but I still think they can. They have good coaches coming there, and I think they can compete. I think Z-Man's defensive coordinator he's pretty good. He was hard to pick up on when I played him this season, and Billy I think is a great coach, and I think it was a good get for North Dakota State. Uh, Judge is always good. I mean, yeah, Judge is always just a good coach. And there's another Ivy team I mentioned earlier. I think Brown could take a bid into the playoffs this season. So like I think a lot of people are sleeping on how good the Ivy could be this season if they perform in out of conference play.
Yeah, fair enough.
The Ivy was incredibly good last year. They had 4 bids into the playoffs in an 8-team conference. They had Penn, Columbia, Brown, and Harvard. So it's pretty much a given that they're going to be one of the elite conferences once again.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I had Columbia down at 11, not so far up as the rest of you, but then also Jackson State at 12. I'm going Tarleton State at 13.
Ooh.
I thought they did well in a tough Southland, and the NIT run has to mean something, right? So I'm putting money on Tarleton State here. Maybe even to appear in a Southland championship, possibly. And then Kennesaw State 14 and Norfolk State 15. Although I could put Brown or Samford in at 15
Yeah.
too.
So I think we'll skip talking about Tarleton until a bit later because I assume that they're probably
Yeah.
at like the early 20s for the other two of us, right?
All right, yeah.
I've got Tarleton a little bit down. They're ranked. They're ranked, so we'll talk.
They
We'll talk
definitely
about
deserve a
them.
ranking, so we'll talk about them a bit later.
They definitely deserve
I
a
mean,
ranking.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the other ones, Jackson State is another one of those teams that they did very well. They did very, very well last season. They're getting a pretty solid coach to replace the elite former one. It's going, but the thing is that is Z-Man's DC going to be as good as he was by himself? Is he ready for that? You know?
And I know we like to shit on the DIC too somewhat fairly, but he is going into the very, very much tougher division there too. Like he's got to play Brady. He's got to play. I mean, myself, I guess. He's got to play Ham at Southern Illinois, who just got robbed out of game after game last year.
Oh man. Oh man.
But we can talk about that a little later
Gonna
because
cry on
I
the
do
podcast.
feature him near the end.
Oh.
But yeah. I mean, I don't think it's. I think it's safe to say he'll be above 500 significantly, but I rank him number 12 as much off Sleeves' history with Jackson State as I do my certainty of him really doing solid there.
Yeah.
I think that's what you have to do. I remember when I was ranking the top 25 last season, I put Bethune-Cookman because at that time Bethune-Cookman didn't have a coach, so I ranked them about 15th.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do also want to throw a quick mention to Norfolk State at 15. They had a good year last year out of the MAC. The MAC hasn't gotten a lot better. It hasn't gotten worse for sure, but it hasn't really gotten all that much better. So I think for them to do basically the same thing they did last year seems reasonable. And we were ranking them for a lot of last year, so I think we can probably expect to see that again. Do my co-hosts exist?
So we're seeing some angry comments like about the ASUN. We need the ASUN to shove it.
All right.
Anyway,
I'm
so
gonna
the
throw in
Kennesaw
because
was
I have this written next to my top 25 that the A-Sun is going to be a one bid league this year, and we've also already talked about Kennesaw State and Sanford.
Whoa.
Well,
Yeah,
we haven't
it's-
expanded
whoa.
on Sanford yet, but we did expand on Kennesaw a bit. The thing is with Kennesaw is that there's just not a lot to talk about. You know, Judge has been is consistently good. He
Judge-
he performs well in the regular season, gets to the playoffs, gets the second round, and he's very good. There's not a lot of variation there. You know,
solid, and yeah, I mean, I think that's Samford. Samford will be good. I ranked them just a tiny bit lower down mine. I had them down at 17.
yeah, I'm nowhere near as big on Samford as everyone else is. Honestly,
I
think that's fair.
because Samford because like well, I mean, yeah, name recognition, yes, but that's because Samford had one truly good season last year, and then they had some solid season prior to that, and we've only really seen like one playoff season out of them. So I, for the most part, am going to put them usually below other more proven teams, but at the same time, it's not like they're a bad team. They're very good.
Yeah, they're good. And I also want to say too that, like, sorry to cut you off there, Cooper.
Oh no problem.
But I also want to say too, it's not a huge thing, especially because it's Plaque. But losing your playoff games by 43 isn't a great way to make a case for yourself. Like,
I excuse abuse of Plaque, honestly.
yeah,
Plaque
I excuse it more than I would because it's Plaque. But if that game is like 48-35, maybe Samford is 15 or 16 for me because it just looks better.
See, I've got Sanford at 15, and I think Sanford is one of the most slept on teams in all of FCS. He's consistently good, and he went 7-5 in season 4, which the season 4 ASUN is probably the best conference we've ever seen, and in FFCS and probably FCFB. That season 4 ASUN was incredible, and to go 7-5 there was super impressive. And I think he finally got to show what he was made of in season 5, and I think he can build upon that. And I think he's really good. I think he'll perform.
Yeah, that's fair. I do want to throw in Campbell as well onto my. I'm not gonna. They aren't in my top 25. I'll say that off the top. But Campbell's gonna be a good team.
Yeah.
And I am very slowly working on a preseason preview by conference, and they're in my contender list for the A-Sun. Like, they're gonna be pretty good. And who knows? I'd probably put them in the 26 to 35 range, but they could surprise me. Stranger things have happened than Campbell being an A-Sun contender. Like, I don't want to just totally throw him under the bus on that.
Yeah, because that it's always going to be difficult for someone who's coming off of a pretty lengthy sabbatical, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kind of because the new Campbell coach is it's JSU Matt. He was Jacksonville State for quite a bit. He was a very good coach. Made the playoffs. Beat me. I hate him. That was a 77-yard field goal game. 87-yard field goal game. And I mean, that's just the thing is that he was. I mean, he had a lot of like stuff going on in season 4, so I can't really hold that against him. But he was pretty consistent there, and then he took this season off. I expect that he's going to be pretty good once again, but I'm not sure if I can necessarily put him at the top 25 playoff level coming into this season.
Yeah, I do. Just to get a quick, tiny little sidetrack here, since Duke is mauling over here in chat. Duke,
No,
you
no.
are
So
are
we're
on
moving on
multiple
to
teams.
Moving on.
to the bottom of
Seven,
the double to 16 through 20.
let's do 16 through 20 right now. All right, here we go.
All right, 16 through 20. I got Brown at 16. I'm in a little bit of shock that I actually did that still, but they're good. Samford at 17. I'm going to roll with Northern Iowa at 18. Georgetown at 19. And yet another probably over-aggressive choice, but I'm putting Southern Illinois at 20.
Oh,
I think there's a lot of very aggressive choices there, but we will let Cooper go over his.
okay. I have Harvard at 16. I have Indiana State at 17.
Ooh.
I have Marist at 18, and here's one of my CAA. I have James Madison at 19,
Jesus.
and Norfolk State at 20.
All right,
Okay.
where to begin with this one? Because this is the area
So
where our consensus completely falls
this is
apart.
Yeah,
I
we
have
just
some
completely
I
separated.
have some hot takes here. I think
So let's talk about one of the bigger elephants in the room here. Southern Illinois, Dekam. Explain.
Okay, I want to note, right? I think he went 7-5 last year. He might have gone 6-6, but I think he went 7-5.
Yeah, he went 7-5.
Yeah, he went 7-5. He was the most competitive game that Sleeve had all year. I mean, quite frankly, he was really solid defensively against Sleeve, so that's huge. He scored a late touchdown on Tennessee Tech and then got last second Hail Married on and lost that way. He took me to triple overtime. Like, he had so many close games. I think you're talking 3 plays for Ham, and you're looking at a 10-2 team.
That's what
And
I
I
was
mean,
saying.
he was also on the edge of right. He was in that first 4 out discussion a couple times in the committee rankings. And I mean, if he was in there with the season he was having last year, he's so close to being all the way there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that reasoning. Another team that stuck out to me for being quite high is Georgetown at 19 out of the MAC. Would you also like to explain that one?
Georgetown's a little bold too. I think Noda, with a year under his belt, is ready to actually really take this on. Like, I know I played Noda in week 2 because we signed up about 2 hours apart. And I mean, he wasn't bad, right? He was 7-5, obviously in a kind of in the MMC for Mickey Mouse Conference, but at the same time, like, he's active, he's here a lot. I think he understands how this game works well enough to probably
he's going to become good by osmosis.
Yeah, exactly. I actually think that, like, he could probably really turn a corner. Dan, that hasn't helped you because sometimes you just can't help the worst cases. And I think, like, I don't know. I think there's something to be said for him turning a corner and just all right. All he's got to do is get to 9-3. Like,
not even necessarily that. I mean, and depending on how the match shakes out, 8-4 can totally suffice.
yeah, I mean, it's empty space, right? Like, he's got Marist, so that's a tough game. And Norfolk State's there. I ranked 3 MAC teams. What am I doing? But I mean, that's kind of it, right? Like, the MAC has got 3 great teams, and then it kind of drives a Cadillac off the cliff.
That's
so
true.
I want to talk quickly about the other of the 3 MAC teams that are deserving to be mentioned in this conversation. We're talking about Norfolk and Georgetown. Marist, I think Marist is going to be the best team in the MAC this season. I mean,
agree.
they were consistently at either the bottom of the 25 or the first 4 out last season.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why they didn't make the playoffs was because the coach just got way too busy in conference championship game week and just couldn't focus on the game. If he focuses completely on that game, he's probably making the playoffs.
It is worth saying. It is worth
Dekman's
saying
a really
too.
smart guy.
Yeah, it is worth adding here. Marist was 17th in strength of schedule last year.
It's true. Marist played a hard schedule, and watch out. I think Declan could be really good this year, and I'm saying it now. I'm definitely picking him to win the MAC this year.
I'm gonna roll this out there as a hard maximum line. You could see a 3-bid MAC. It's very unlikely, but you could.
We could.
Possible. That is possible, but I will have to see it to believe it.
If Norfolk, Marist, and Georgetown win 3 of their 4 non-conference games, you could be looking at it. It's weird because the back half of that conference, I mean, other than not existing, just isn't that good. But I mean, only time will tell on that one.
And then moving on from the MAC to another one of the more interesting picks, although this time one of Cooper's. Let's talk about Harvard without the Ivy League.
Okay, so
because you had Harvard quite high compared to the other of us two.
Okay, playoff team last year, and I think Harvard had a hard schedule. Harvard played a hard schedule last season. Let me see. I have the race sheet open. Let me pull up Harvard's race sheet just to look at it once again. But Harvard played a really tough schedule. They played the 12th hardest schedule in the country, and they went 7-5, and they snuck into the playoffs as an at-large bid in the Ivy. I think Harvard really had a good season last year, and I think they could probably, I don't know how much they could improve off that, but I think they could definitely kind of make, Webb could definitely just be consistent there. I think he could consistently have another 7-5 team, 7-5, 8-4 with a hard strength of schedule season.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. My worry with Harvard is that it's so easy to fall behind in the Ivy League, right? Like, man, you better hope you don't drop that game to Cornell or Dartmouth, because you don't recover if you do. I want to say also, Cornell and Dartmouth are good teams, but they're still at they're at the back end of the Ivy League, but they're
good in the sense that they are above average, but not quite one of those teams that's ever going to get a lot of recognition outside of being a decent boost to SOS because they're in the high 50s.
Cornell's coach Elo is 1575, and I kind of feel like a jackass now, but that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think Harvard's an interesting case. I personally didn't put him in my top 25, but I'm not saying it's a bad decision either.
Yeah.
And then the other teams in the 16 for 20 range for you guys that I haven't talked about yet?
I've got two. I've got two that we haven't talked about yet. I think I'm the only one, at least so far, who is ranked Indiana State.
Yes, Indiana State.
Returning coach Shake. If you weren't around in season 4, Shake is a good coach.
Yeah, Shake was one of the better coaches in the season. He was also just one of the most beloved coaches in that season.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very well-liked person.
He made the conference championship game and almost beat Chase. And it was hard to beat Chase in a conference championship game and in the playoffs. It was that was a really tall task. Yeah, I think
the only issue with Shake is that I feel the same way about him as I feel about JSU Matt. Well, I guess he's Campbell Matt now. In that after a relatively long sabbatical, I'm interested to see if you can kind of just jump right in and be just as good as you were when you were still playing a while ago, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see because Shake's last game of big college football came in like the second round of the season 4 playoffs. So we will see. It's been quite a bit since then. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think I personally agree with the idea that it's hard to come back from a sabbatical. And two, and I know I just said it about the Ivy League, and I think this is like the third time I'm saying it about the Missouri Valley. What an easy place to get lost in the shuffle. Like, it's you can drop 3 games and it's barely going to be your fault. You're just playing people that are really good. Like, now is Shake probably capable of overcoming all of that? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a very easy place to your schedule's not super favorable and you went 5-3 in conference.
It's going to be even tougher than it was last season too, because it's going to be even tougher because there's 16 teams in the MVC now.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard. It's and I think teams like before right before the conference championship game, and that I think Bo got kind of lost in the shuffle during the season on discussion, because it felt like Bo kind of came out of nowhere last season, being ranked in like the week 12 committee rankings. Felt like he kind of came out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
I think Dan kind of came out of nowhere. I think Missouri Valley is going to be the hardest conference to predict this season. That in the Southland, just by the size.
Yep. Yeah, the 16-team conferences are tough. Like,
Yeah.
but they're also just kind of a reality that we're dealing with, and I mean, it especially now that our 16-team conferences are really good conferences instead of just the DIC is pretty average. I mean, the MVC and the Southland, you could be looking at, if everything goes just right, 5-6 bids, like, because there's just so many good teams lined up now. Which, I mean, you can look at that as a negative too and say they're just kind of overtaking the playoffs, but I mean, you can choose whether you want that to be positively spun or negatively spun, I guess.
Yeah, and then I had one more team. Just going to go over real quick, not much discussion. James Madison, I had him at 19. I think Canner and Dorr will oddly work together well. I think that'll probably be a good offensive and defensive coordinator situation. Sometimes offensive and defensive coordinators are like, it's kind of tough to get like, I mean, if you scout, it's tough. It's tough to play that. So it's just that's going to be an interesting thing. I believe that Canner and Dorr can be pretty good.
That's true.
And
speaking of Canner, I can't wait to see him eat a raw goldfish. Continue.
And let's head into the 2025 range. What do you guys have as the worst of the best?
I'll let you take the lead on that one again, Cooper.
Yeah, my worst of the best is there was discussion in general. I have Missouri State. Here's where Missouri State is. Missouri State at 21.
I had Missouri State in this range as well.
Mm-hmm. Missouri State at 21, Tarleton State at 22, Princeton at 23, Northern Iowa at 24, and Delaware at 25. So some teams that people wanted to hear kind of came up in my 21 to 25
because
range.
a lot of the teams that the people wanted to hear are teams that have the potential to go really big, but they also have some definite question marks surrounding them, right?
Yep.
The thing
that's typically how I treat like the 2025 range. Those are teams that are like, yeah, they have serious potential, but there's definitely some issues that I have with putting them very high.
Yeah. The reason I didn't rank Missouri State so high is just Missouri State was a completely different team last season. Mad Jack is completely different. And I feel like in I ranked Jackson State 12th. I feel like it's I'm basing the rankings kind of off last year too. I mean, it would be kind of foolish to rank Missouri State like a top 10 team because they were kind of a non-factor last year.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I think that's I made a last second change to mine. I actually wasn't going to put Missouri State in my rankings, but I ended up slotting them in at 22. And I mean, yeah, I think it's a lot of the things you said. One, you do kind of want to respect the other team's history. It would feel a little unfair to just chuck Missouri State in number 5 and tell everybody below them to screw off. But also, I mean, again, it's the Missouri Valley. It's tough. I mean, I think it's a lot of the things we've already kind of said, and I think Cooper covered Missouri State really well, so I don't want to beat a dead horse on that one too much. But I had Princeton 21, Missouri State 22. I had Marist down at 23. No Tarleton State down here for me because I ranked them up at 13. I'm looking out for you, H-Man. I put myself at 24 because screw you, I'm the host. And at 25, I put Mississippi Valley State. I think Brady's bouncing back this year.
Ooh. Yeah, so a lot of teams that we there are a lot of teams that we are definitely that definitely have a lot to talk about. All right, let's begin with probably the most notable coach in Mississippi Valley State, because Brady is someone who they have a very long history in this sport. Let's say that.
Oh yeah. Brady had a rough go of it last year, quite honestly. He and this is one of my things when people are like, haha, Dick Wurst conference. I'm like, look at how Brady did in our division. That's kind of my one go-to thing that I can sort of be like, hey, we weren't completely weak. Houston Baptist 129th, sorry. Anyway, sorry, I need to stop reading general chat and focus on what I'm saying. But I think Brady, certainly had a rough go of it last year, had a lot of tight games, and just didn't come out at the right end of some of them. And I think he bounces back this year, like you said, tons of experience. I think he's probably maybe better than anybody in a conference where there's a lot of teams that you could argue are probably going to improve this year. I think he's the one that you would say absolutely will improve this year.
Yeah,
Hey,
for
Cooper.
sure. That was a surprise appearance.
Hey, Cooper.
Hey, yeah.
Where are you gonna rank Wilma this year?
Oh yeah, yeah. Number one.
Let's go, bro. Let's go. Everybody rank Wilma.
Oh, that was perfect.
Anyway, my number 21 is Sugma.
Yep.
Wilma number
Surprising.
So, hey, Matt. Will Wilma nuts fit in your mouth?
one. Yeah, there you go, Chase. Jogs, can you please grab that chat?
Grab it like my nuts.
Man, if anybody actually goes and listens to the recording of this, they're going to be so confused.
I mean, we peaked within the first 5 minutes.
Let's
be honest here.
We peaked before anybody was here when we were just
That's true.
absolutely throwing Duke under the bus. But anyway,
So let's talk about another team that the chat is in uproar about. And let's be honest here, the chat are all dummies and morons, and I hate them. But Missouri State, yes, Missouri State does deserve some recognition here.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mad Jack, obviously a great coach at the FBS level. We know he's upgrading now, so we'll have to see how that goes for him. But on a realistic level, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit too. That one, Missouri Valley's tough. Two, we do want to respect team history a little bit here. So Missouri State was 4-8 last year. gonna roll with that. But at the same time, like you gotta respect the Carousel move. That's a great move for Missouri State. So I
think
think
if
you
we
see him.
I
Yeah,
think
go
if
for
we
it.
disregard like team history here, I'd rank Mad Jack top 10.
Yeah,
I would.
I do
In
top
I
15 at
in
worst.
terms of coachability, absolutely.
He's
Yeah, I do
he's
top 15 at worst.
really good. He's really good. He's a
Yeah,
really good
Like
coach.
top 10
So,
is most realistically where.
yeah.
Mad Jack is also a top 5 FCFB chess player. Shout out to the chess group. Okay.
Ugh,
uh,
nerds. So what? So there is one of the conferences that we've talked about a decent amount without actually naming more than one team from is the Southland, and finally we can discuss a Southland team that isn't an incarnate word, Tarleton.
mhm.
It happened.
I mean,
so
hey.
Tarleton. The issue with Tarleton wasn't the record. They went 8-4 in the regular season. The issue was that they had one of the more disgusting resumes of all the very good teams out there. They had, if I'm not mistaken, they had a single top half win at the end of the season, which is not enough to make the playoffs. But the thing is that H-Man, he proved that he is a very, very good coach. And with a pretty solid NIT run, I think he's proven that he's going to be able to go even further this season. Probably a playoff team, because now he's easily the number 2 in the Southland after the Texas Southern debacle, where he had 3 separate coaches last season.
I mean, obviously, it was pretty apparent how high I was on Tarleton State when I ranked him number 13. But yeah, I honestly think it's probably a bigger gap from Tarleton State to the Southland field than it is from Incarnate Word to Tarleton. That
See,
might be an aggressive take, but I
I
really feel
actually.
like they're good. Like,
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with the sentiment that Tarleton's really good, but
Mhm.
now is time for me to reveal one of my very low top. Like I think I ranked this team 25, Abilene Christian.
Ooh.
Nussum has been one of the most consistent coaches in the Southland. He went 9-3 in season 4, and he made the NIT. Then he went 8-4 this season, and also made the NIT once again. He's been incredibly consistent. I mean, I said Tarleton is the easy number 2. Now the Texas Southern is no longer a Trav, but Abilene Christian I think is much closer to Tarleton than any other team by far, as at least looking at it on paper at the preseason sort of prediction level. You know.
I absolutely agree with that. Abilene Christian's my team 26. Like I really thought about Abilene Christian at 25, decided to go Mississippi Valley State because Brady's got name recognition, and so that makes for maybe better discussion. But I think Abilene Christian's really good. I would be shocked if they're not in the coaches poll at least 5 or 6 weeks this year.
And then that's it for my conference. So we can move on from that.
Well, I do want to mention one other Southland team, actually, while we're here. Down on row number 130 of my Excel sheet, I put Texas Southern, Lowell, Duke.
Anyway, let's move on to other teams in the bottom
Woo!
25. It's not top 25, bottom of the top 25. Let's ignore Texas Southern, as we should. Who else have we not mentioned that you guys want to talk about at an extensive level? That's way too complex for the level of this podcast.
Haven't really talked about Princeton yet.
We haven't talked about Princeton, and I'd like to talk about Delaware as well. But let's talk about Princeton.
Let's talk about Princeton first, because that's going to be very quick. Princeton, Einstein was one of the best coaches in the history of FCS. Princeton is one of the eight blue bloods in FCS in FFCS history, along with other prestigious schools like Penn, Northern Iowa, and Incarnate Word. Those the Titans. But the issue here is that it's a completely new coach, not just a new coach to Princeton, a new coach to fake college football, which I'm always going to be hesitant to put very highly, especially since because Weinstein, while he has the history, he went 6-6 last season, so it's not even necessarily like it's not even necessarily like they were a top 25 team last year either. But that being said, though, more surprising things have happened than a new coach being good, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The thing about Barney is he's new to fake college football, but he is in no way new to fake sports. So he's very skilled in MLR and MLN, and
well, the thing
he
is that fake baseball
runs the
doesn't
fake
matter
sport.
here because he invented Master Chef, which is that's the most important thing here. No one cares about baseball. The important thing is number chef.
I'd like to bring up what Jocks just said in general. Platt came here from MLR last season and went 13-0, and then Sleeve came here from MLN last season and went 13-0. So
while that is true, I will bring up the fact that they did that in the Big Sky and the Dick, respectively.
True.
Big difference from the Ivy League, because the Ivy League is
kind of
insane.
Bad conferences.
Bad comparison, Jocks. Feel bad. Do 25 push-ups. See me after class.
Wow.
And then let's move on to Delaware, who is what's up? Who is one of the more notable coaches that we haven't talked about yet. Been to the playoffs before, made a very good run to enter as Montana. Went to Albany and were good, but not quite as good as they were at Montana. But they did have some very close losses, some very good teams, and so they could definitely bounce back in a. I'm not sure the CAA is necessarily a weaker conference, but it's a conference that's there's always a chance, right?
Yeah. The CAA, I think we've kind of mentioned this once or twice. There's a couple really good teams at the top of it, and at the back half of it's not very good. But it's right. I think Delaware's probably right on that line of you could see them really shoot up, have a good year, be in that kind of 15 to 20 range, or maybe it's kind of like what happened to their coach at Albany last year, and they go 7-5. The CAA doesn't have a great out of conference result, and all of a sudden you're looking in the 30 to 45 range too. They're definitely not way down the list, but for me, it's probably that 26 to 35 line again.
Yeah, I think I ranked Delaware 25th, and I think I wouldn't call it a slump from What's Up. It was definitely What's Up definitely didn't perform as well as they had in the past like 2 seasons, but they were a couple points away in 2 games from being like 9-3 and being right in playoff contention. So with Albany. So yeah. I think What's Up's definitely coach that could surprise, and Delaware's historically not a bad team. Formerly coached by Larry in MLR.
True.
Larold hit a home run in MLR today. Fun.
The Moofish, you have anybody in your 20 to 25 range that we didn't cover?
No, the only one that was there was Abilene Christian, but we've already discussed them. So now we're done with the proper top 25. This is kind of just like the free for all. We're kind of just mentioning teams that we think will be maybe not even necessarily good, just interesting to watch throughout the next season.
First one, talk about South Dakota. Dan had a really good season last year, and he's improving, and he could get even better. I think Dan could get even better. It's just we talked about how unpredictable the NBC could be this season, so it's a question mark.
Yeah. There's one really large operative word in what you said there, and it's could, right? He might, but it's for me at least, it's easier to see a situation in where he ends up kind of languishing back at fifth or sixth in the Missouri Valley. But it is what it is too. Like he might be good, but I kind of see South Dakota back in the 6-6 range.
I feel like pretty much like every single like the Dakota school can kind of be put into the like we don't really know how it's going to turn out, but boy, is it going to be fun to watch. Like sort of sphere.
I got a little more faith in North Dakota State than the other three Dakota schools. Personally, I think Billy's going to come in and Billy's going to stay solid. But I could definitely be proven wrong about that too. But I think especially both of the South Dakota schools, you're looking at right 6-6 is the expectation, like the absolute bare minimum. You'd love to see 7-5 or 8-4. Anything above that's just a huge bonus.
Yeah, I think I think there's a bunch of wild cards in the Missouri Valley Conference. We didn't mention. I just saw him in the chat. Bo made the playoffs last year. I honestly don't know where he could land, just because there's so many different.
Yeah, I mean there's just too many teams there, right?
Yeah,
it's tough. And it's like you look at the Missouri Valley, and there's absolute most like 4 teams that you could just write off, like right now, right? Like there, and even then, like North Dakota is probably a write off just because they don't have a coach right now, and that's tough. Oh wait, Duke is their coach. You announced that at the start of this.
Yeah. Duke's
Yeah.
coaching at North Dakota now.
I don't know a whole lot about St. Thomas, but they're entering a tough situation. I mean, I think Eastern Illinois and Dayton are going to be fighting uphill battles.
Dayton did have a pretty decent season last year.
They were all right, yeah.
They were on the bubble going into the last couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, Dayton did all right. I know I was a little less impressed with their resume than a lot of people were, but that was a personal opinion. I mean, and sorry to put you down here, Cooper, but like you could be talking about 11th or 12th out of 16 in that conference being Valpo.
Oh yeah. I only won like 2-3 conference games last year. I don't perform well in conference.
Yeah, which it happens.
You don't perform well out of conference either.
Very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but that's another team too. If you decide to have a magic turnaround and all of a sudden you're 8-4, like the Missouri Valley is just another team better. It's unlikely.
I love how you say decide. Like, yeah, you know what? This year I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be 8-4.
I mean, hey, I'm just deciding to go 11-1 so that Z-Man eats a sock. Like,
more specifically, my sock that I don't take off for the entirety of the season.
That's correct, exactly. So if y'all are hearing this, y'all better really be working to get me to 11-1. I am not rigging the system at all.
Can we get some sock chants in chat, please? Some
sock chants. Sock chants. Sock.
There we go.
There we go.
Other teams we can talk about. I saw somebody said Youngstown State. That was a while ago now. That's a tough one for me. I, to be honest, kind of thought Youngstown State was going to be a middle of the pack Colonial team, but if somebody thinks differently, please tell me I'm wrong. Like,
I don't know. Yugo's been a decent coach in the MAC, so it's I don't know. Yugo's been an interesting, it was an interesting addition to the CAA. I think he definitely could perform well in the CAA. It's just kind of an unknown right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the CAA is probably our biggest toss-up conference. Like,
Yeah.
Richmond and Villanova will be up there. You'd assume that like James Madison and Delaware will be up there, but what's behind it is so hard to figure out.
Yeah, Matt 17 sucks. So like,
But
Yeah,
there is
Matt
that.
17 is garbage.
I think
Absolute
you
garbage. The worst.
I think you could count. I think you'd be pretty sure on a W against William and Mary. Anyone who plays William and Mary.
William and Mary's going
Should
0-12.
have thought to schedule them week 2, but I didn't think about it.
I think Arkansas Pine Bluff could be good. I think Alcorn State can make some noise in the DIC.
Yeah,
Any one of those teams.
The DIC is going to get killed by exactly the same thing it got killed by last year. It's got a division
Good teams.
with 7. That's true. It's got a division. It's got a division with 7 pretty solid teams in it, and it's got a division with Tennessee Tech. There is not a balance of power in that conference at all.
Looking down the list, Sacred Heart could be mentioned. Naki's pretty good.
I mean, they could be, but they won't be. Anyway.
But
yeah,
I
got Sacred Heart somewhere. Yeah, exactly. That's right. And I mean, we kind of talked about that with New Hampshire too. Is that
they're playing New Hampshire, but like who else?
Whoever they like, New Hampshire's just going to beat everybody, so they're going to be really good. But like, what if Sacred Heart loses to New Hampshire and drops 2 other games? It's trouble because there's just nobody there.
I feel like there's some team in the ASUN we're not talking about that could have a good season, like Jacksonville. I think Perp could have a good season. Perp's a pretty good coach.
The thing is with Jacksonville is that they always show up against very good teams and then consistently don't do it elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that way, they are the FFCS equivalent of a Pittsburgh. If you are a top 15 team and you're playing them, then you're going down. But if you are anything else, then you're going to have probably a decent shot.
I would say also agree with that. I would say also Purdue. Purdue always likes to perform up against big competition. It's just one of
Texas.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's
Mensa.
just. Yeah, I don't know. It could happen. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season.
Speak for yourself. I'm going to hate it.
Wait, we haven't mentioned something.
What?
I know we mentioned earlier. Boomer's back at Southeastern Louisiana, and
I did mention that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that in the carousel, but I think in the rankings, he could be good in the Southland. I don't know. I mean,
the thing is with Boomer is that like he has a pretty high FCS ELO, a pretty good record in FCS, but I'm not sure how he did in FBS. Because in FBS, I thought he was the average. I think around there.
Boomer was good in his last tenure here, but I'd have to.
That was like 2 seasons ago, though.
I know, and that goes back to what we talked about with Shake and Campbell Matt. Now, Josh is going to check on that.
Well, the difference here, though, is that he didn't necessarily take a sabbatical. He was in the FBS.
Yeah.
23 and 31 in FBS.
He was 23 and 31 in the.
That's a lot.
He said, "Yikes!" I wouldn't say that, yikes, but because he's 8-4 in FCS all time, and I wouldn't call the FBS a sabbatical, man. Yeah, I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Now that I'm looking at the Southland, am I an absolute idiot for saying they could potentially have 5 bids? Like
I don't know.
I kind of see 3.5 here.
The biggest thing with the Southland is that like all of their best coaches are in one division.
Yeah, y'all random drawing really.
Us literally wheel deciding. Like we got Incarnate Word Tarleton State, Abilene Christian, Texas Southern, and Southeastern Louisiana, all in one division, which
is crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the most difficult divisions in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Meanwhile, in the other division,
OSU Kid is the best coach in the other division.
OSU Kids at Rio Grande, and Snasty's at Houston Baptist, which we should
Snasty's
give
good.
him some credit there.
Snasty's automatically good because they're playing me out of
More
conference.
like nasty.
Wow. Just tearing down his own conference, mates. That's sad.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll kiss him on the lips later. Right on the lips.
Yeah, I mean, Wofford was decent in season 4. Wofford made the playoffs, 17 seed, I think, in the playoffs. So they could perform well. Junie's always has a good offense.
Yep.
But it's kind of up in the air. They could honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they could win. They would be a number 1 contender to Davidson and Elon in the.
I think the CFC championship is Davidson and Wofford, and I think it's going to be really hard to change that.
I could see Elon definitely.
I could see Elon challenging Davidson. But I think that's kind of the one big. That's like right. I think that's your one contender besides Davidson and Wofford.
I mean, we're literally going to spend another 2 hours just going through every single conference.
Yeah. I was going to say we could
discuss all 130.
We could talk about every.
I mean, honestly, let's just audible and do it. Everyone, if you leave your band, all right, let's talk about every single team. Let's talk about Albany.
Do we want to organize?
No, we're not going by. We're not going.
I propose that I'm going to propose we organize this a little bit differently. Do we just want to talk about every conference, give a quick once over who are our contenders, and then maybe we'll call it a night?
I think we could do that.
Dude, I don't even know like a quarter of the people in other conferences. I'm being honest here.
Just pull up
fan questions.
Pull up the website.
Yeah, let's do fan questions.
Let's do some fan questions
while Moofish. Yeah, let's do fan questions and
I mean, it's literally just one click away. 1-2-1-2 that is 1-2-1-2 that. Go to the standings.
And in case you catch that the first 2 times, that's 1-2-1-2.
It's 1-2-1-2 that.
All the while
thoughts on Noda winning the Dream Human of the Year award. No comment.
What a Mickey Mouse Awards show, dude.
Like, wait, hold on. This is a question that I think we can really discuss. Would you rather fight an umbrella-sized human or a human-sized umbrella?
It's an umbrella-sized human, and it's not even a contest.
I mean, an umbrella-sized human
is so much pokier.
I mean, isn't an umbrella-sized human going to be roughly like 3/4 of a human? That's not like a super.
Yeah, I mean that's
not like a super. That's like a super advantage. Like I'd much rather fight the umbrella.
And you fight a 10-year-old
umbrella-sized human would definitely win.
Well, I mean, I fight 10-year-olds on a daily basis, and like I mean.
True.
Why is umbrella? Okay, so
you imagine
by umbrella-sized human, do we mean that they are? Or they also have the proportions of an umbrella?
Oh no! Don't think about that.
Well, can we get some fan art of an umbrella of human skin?
No, we're not thinking about cocktail umbrellas that you stick in your drink.
I mean, honestly, that's a good loophole.
We're talking about the umbrellas you hold up in the rain.
Yeah. Wait. Are we talking about
you guys are grown up and you're really using umbrellas?
An outdoor like umbrella you'd put over like a patio table is basically a human-sized umbrella.
That is true, actually.
So like
I feel like honestly though, those things have given me trouble before. So
they have.
I mean, honestly, I would totally lose a fight to an umbrella in like a really heavy windstorm.
Dude, my sister lost in a fight to an umbrella a couple weeks ago.
I'm gonna ignore Josh's question because that's terrifying, and I don't think I'm legally allowed to comment on it.
I saw another good question.
What was his question?
Read for yourself. Yeah, I'm not in the business of doing
Wow.
When's the NIT gonna finish? I didn't know that was still going on.
Is that still going
What?
on?
It's gonna finish. I mean,
going on? You've got to be kidding me.
Matt asks opinions on a 7-5 record for William and Mary, and then
No, you're going like 4-8.
Why did you use his name? He's never gonna let us hear the end of it.
4-8 at most.
You're going like 4-8, and that's generous.
Five wins plus, and you played the best season of your life. Yeah, we're aware he has by far the easiest schedule. He just sucks.
Yeah,
he's also the easiest to win for every single person on that. The reason why he has the easiest schedule is because he has the lowest elo and doesn't have to play himself.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's not how it works. It's the opposite.
The 2-10 bowl between Matt and Duke. I don't think that's fair. I mean, 3-9, 4-8. Then we'll talk.
Duke, I am better than you. Don't you dare insult me.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna agree. We should not put Duke down to Matt's level. Matt, sorry, demoted to 3-9. Duke can be 4-8. We're good. Please don't ban me, Sir President. Anyway.
Okay. Wait. We got an actual question.
Any actual fan questions?
Wait. What question? Whoa.
Predict South Dakota State season.
What's their schedule look like?
Bo, could you drop your out of conference real quick? Let me see if I can open the sheet. Hold on.
Yeah, who is South Dakota State playing in the OOC?
They were playing Butler, and then the MVC schedule came out, and Butler and South Dakota State were playing already due to pods. So they canceled that game, and I know they're playing Arkansas Pine Bluffs week 2.
Oh yeah, Arkansas Pine Bluff.
So let's see. I pulled it up. They're playing North Carolina Central at Bristol Motor Speedway. That's fun. They're playing Brown and Kennesaw State. That is a menacing.
That's a beastly out of conference schedule.
That is a beastly out of conference schedule.
Carolina Central, and I don't have really any problem saying that. I think Arky Pine Bluff probably plays them close. I'm obligated to say that because I am engaged to their coach.
Well, you know what? That just makes you a simp and less of a person to me. So
yeah,
take that.
Honestly, I 100% agree. Brooke,
simp alert.
Simp alert.
I can't do it anymore.
I bet he respects women.
But Brown, but I think between Brown, Kennesaw State, and Arky Pine Bluff, I think they go. I don't think they go 3-0, but I definitely don't think they go 0-3.
Dekam, now the Sigma male.
Okay, that was a good one, man. I like that one.
I think in those last 3 non-conference weeks, it's 1-2 for South Dakota State. 2-1 would not surprise me.
I think they could perform well and out of conference.
Well, actually, a very good question coming from the audience here. It says, "Who is the biggest Sigma male out of FCS?"
That's Moofish easily. It's either Moofish or Baba. Baba's a Sigma.
Baba should be here.
That is literally a question from Moofish to Moofish. That's kind of cheating.
Should we
Yeah, wait,
try
is Baba still at UNA? Can someone confirm this?
No, I don't think so. Did Wally return?
The EKU. It's the EKU. I want to say DC.
Jack. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Jack
okay. Jack. Cool.
Yeah, I think UNA could be good. To be honest, I think I think UNA, Campbell, and Kennesaw
I think
State.
any team could be good.
Anyway, Jox was yelling at us for ignoring her comment, so let's go ahead and read it.
Well,
Which
what?
one was it?
I don't listen to women anyway.
See, just because y'all are single doesn't mean everyone with a fiance doesn't relate to the I hate my wife boomer comics is a simp.
Wow.
Well, Jox, I think that just makes you a simp. Anyway.
Big simp. Big simping. All right.
It's been such a great podcast.
This is
Anyone have any other good questions?
absolute train wreck, and that's why some of you are still here.
Please ask us questions. Man, I was gonna make graphics.
Stop complaining. I
For
gave you a chance to help me host this.
this. You were gonna make graphics for this? Ew.
We have talked about football. We've talked about not football. We've talked about sheer dickheadery and idiocy, quite frankly. But I think this has been a good time.
Yeah, I think this has been great, and
Yeah,
let's
do it again. Same time tomorrow.
Not same time tomorrow.
No.
I can't lower my IQ that fast.
Wait, hold on.
I can lower mine that fast.
Hold on, Moofish. Did you see the Black Cauldron was decent?
I thought it was like a 5.5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. It was fine.
The animation's okay, but that's the only good part.
Honestly, I think the animation is not just okay. I think the animation is actually straight up good. I think the animation is very good for the time anyway.
For a big budget studio, I think the story was awful. And I think the voice. I mean, I know it's like an early movie, but also the voice acting.
1985 is really early.
What it was it really? Was it in the 80s? I thought it was late 70s.
It was mid 80s.
I thought it was late 70s.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, I think the voice acting was not good. The Great Mouse Detective did not save Disney.
I'm pretty sure it's probably The Little Mermaid that saved Disney, right? Or is it Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
Which one came first?
It was Little Mermaid.
Because Little Mermaid was 89?
Little Mermaid was 88.
No, Dan, you can't unmute yourself. You have to listen to us desperately struggle.
No, we have to struggle about Disney knowledge.
Little Mermaid is absolutely ass.
Sexy Back Home Depot theme song?
This is what the hell?
Matt, why are you checking? Oh no! I just looked at that image. I'm not.
Dan, you need taste. I'm sorry. Just no, you're wrong. Flatly.
Wait. What about what?
The Little Mermaid is not S tier. Get out of here.
What?
The Little Mermaid is, I think, like a high B tier for me.
Get out! Really? No. Little Mermaid's great.
It's like a high B tier, low A tier for me, I'd say.
What? The soundtrack's incredible. And it's a good story. It's a good story. It's an interesting story. It's really interesting.
I mean, the big thing about it is just like the environments, right? You know, I love nautical stuff.
I'd give it an A tier, and also ridicule Matt 17 again. He's never watched Little Mermaid. What?
A little bit sad.
Did you have a childhood, man?
Matt, I barely ever watch Disney movies, and even I've seen The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like.
Hold up. Josh says he could outsing Ariel. Never mind having a podcast tomorrow. We're just all hopping back in here for that. Yeah, y'all heard it here first. Josh singing tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Josh is singing Part of Your World.
Guys, we need to come up with just awful songs to make him sing.
I'll sing. Oh, I want to hear this.
This is beautiful. Okay.
I love how there's so many people sticking through here when we're totally done with the FCFB part and we're just kind of completely
done with the podcast for 20 minutes.
Keep asking me more questions.
Did whoever was recording this stop recording?
Please say you didn't.
I think this is really funny.
I'm still.
Jocks is still
wait.
recording.
Did Jocks?
Does
Jocks just do a whole tier list?
does Jocks have access to the FCFB YouTube channel?
Tarzan D? Okay, Jocks. What?
Bro, there's too many.
Jocks, do you have access to the YouTube channel, the whatever, the medium one?
The Incredibles.
Well, let's give it to her. Someone get her the password and.
Up is an S tier movie, Jocks.
Wait,
great.
does she not
I
have?
to agree with that.
Up is an S tier movie, easy. Monsters Inc. is an S tier movie.
Yo,
Wreck-It Ralph is not an S tier movie. Wreck-It Ralph is like B tier.
And then the first 45 minutes of Wall-E are like S tier.
Yeah.
Wall-E's the best Disney movie, and that's just fact.
Well, what like the first 45 minutes of Wall-E?
Wall-E isn't a Disney movie; it's a Pixar movie.
A Bug's Life is
up, Disney, Pixar, whatever. They're practically the
They're
same
different
now.
studios.
So underrated.
Shut up!
Different studios.
Studio mute him. Server mute him. Server mute this man.
Server mute. Damn.
Server mute.
No, I'm not going to server mute him. If he talks again, I will. If he makes a bad.
I love how F-Man is telling us to shut up when literally our job is just doing a podcast.
Yeah.
That's completely
sorry, I'm still looking at Jocks' tier list here.
Okay, let's be honest. Monsters Inc. definitely does not deserve an S tier, Matt. I'm sorry.
There were too many movies.
I don't know. Monsters Inc. really good.
Monsters Inc. is good, but it's not S tier.
Bro, Chicken Little and
she has Toy Story 2 on the same tier as Cars 2?
Honestly, Cars 2 is not as bad as people think it is. It's a bad movie, but it's not the worst thing Disney's ever made.
And Brother Bear is better than B tier while we're at it too.
Yeah, I mean,
Brother Bear's a mid low A tier.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And Finding Nemo's overrated.
I always forget about Big Hero 6. I don't think I've actually seen that movie all the way
Finding
through.
Dory. I don't know. Finding Dory in A tier is a little high. I think Tangled could be higher.
Tangled I liked a lot.
Brave and B tier, Jocks? Oh my god.
Brave
sucks. I do not like Brave.
Brave is like, for me it's low B, high C.
Matt thinks he can run the podcast.
Not a fan of Brave.
But like Brave, I don't think is a bad film, but I also don't think it's like over like a 7.5 out of 10.
Bolt's interesting, and I agree. B tier. Bolt's a good movie.
Bolt I think is fine, right?
And I don't think people realize that that Miley Cyrus voiced the main protagonist in Bolt.
I remember I got Bolt as a present in like my Easter basket, and when I was like in like 2009 or something, and that's why I have a bit of a bias towards Bolt because it's
you know what, Dan,
good memories, right?
Dan, you can unmute if you want.
No, you can't.
What? No, yes, you can.
Majority rules.
If Mad Jack or Tarleton State or Duke want to unmute or Jocks want to unmute, totally fine. But